So here we have both what we have in the kit and also the equipment we're going to need to make the bag. First off, we've got a bag in our kit. We've got some special Liberty Tana lawn that's iron-on. We have embroidery floss, this is DMC, a needle, and then also the templates to cut out and the placement card, which is going to help us make the word placed beautifully onto our bag. And then also the things that we're going to need from home, just something heavy to weight down the card when we're actually putting the letters onto the bag, small scissors for cutting the thread and fabric, and we need some larger scissors for cutting the paper. This is a seam ripper or a quick unpick. This is really helpful for cutting out the tiny circular bits on the letters, or you can use an old pair of nail scissors if you don't have one of these. We've got a chalk pencil, which is optional, you don't actually need that. That's just to mark the crease. And then we have a sharp pointed pencil, or you can get a ballpoint pen with a very sharp tip point as well. Fine point is best. And then we're going to be needing some card to place on the ironing board, because that really helps to for the letters to take beautifully on the fabric itself. So this is an old Amazon envelope which I've cut the edges, turned inside out so that only the clear card is showing. It's not the ridged envelopes, it's the flat card, and the Amazon envelopes are just perfect for it. So that's what we need, and also an iron and an ironing board. So the first thing we're going to do is cut out our placement card. The best way to do this is to fold it in half, and we want to put this centre crease folded perfectly. And then we're going to cut out these two centre sections with our paper scissors. And now we have our placement card, which is all ready for the bag. And now we're going to cut out the letters for the word that we're going to put onto the bag. So I'm going to do exactly the same, just cut out the letters, and then we'll be ready to transfer them onto the fabric. So I've cut out my letters that I want to put onto the bag, and now I'm going to transfer them onto the Liberty Tana lawn. So we're going to work backwards, but you turn it front side down, and then with the pencil or with a ballpoint pen, draw, around the letter. Like so. And take the L, and this is backwards. I put them quite close together because then I can get more letters out of the fabric. Just wanted to quickly show you about the letter Q. So when you're tracing onto the fabric, and we flip them over so that they are right sides down, When you do the letter Q, it's going to be too tall for the fabric. So what you do is you flip and then you place it at an angle like that, and then draw around the letter. That way there's no problem with the tail and everything fits on beautifully. So now we're going to cut out our letters from the fabric. So if you find it fiddly, I would cut one letter off and just focus on that one. So I find when I do circular letters, or if I just gently close the scissors and actually pivot the fabric through the scissors, end up with a much smoother edge. There we go. And now to get the centre out of your letter, I'll show you a method that you need to be careful with, because otherwise you could poke your finger. You can do this with nail scissors or with an old pair of embroidery scissors, which are really fine tipped. The method I use is to poke this seam ripper through. It's how buttonholes are done. So if you're not confident with this, I would place this down on a chopping board, on a wooden board, and push this through. So I'm holding the letter between my middle finger and my thumb with the hole well away from any finger, and then I'm going to push this through the edge so it's well away from my finger. This is vertical, and if you tilt it to the right or to the left if you're left-handed, and then gently ease around, it cuts through both the paper and the fabric really smoothly. And I just take it a little bit at a time. And nice and easy. So all my letters are cut out now, and I'm going to peel the backing off the Liberty Tana lawn. So the easiest way I found to do this, fold the fabric side over to the paper side, and then it kind of pops off, and then peel. Lovely. So now we are ready to put it onto the bag. We're going to place our word onto our bag. So the first thing we want to do is press it, and then we're going to try to match the handles together and flatten it, and then we're going to fold over the one side top corner to the other top corner, and we're going to match down the two seamed edges to be as straight as possible. And then we're going to try and make sure that the handles are matching, and then gently stroke across and create a center crease. Just with your fingers, press it down. And then when you open, you should have a nice crease down the center there. If you're finding it difficult to see, you can actually pop a pin in at the top and bottom, if this helps you to know where that center crease is, or you can just mark it with a chalk pencil, top and bottom. And we're going to match this center crease line to the center crease we've just pressed onto the fabric. And now we've got our placement card matched to the center seam crease, not center seam. I'm going to just place a stone on it so it doesn't move. And now I'm going to place the letters onto the fabric. Let me show you that. So before we place our letters onto the fabric, that way when we're pressing, especially on an ironing board which is lovely and bouncy, this will give a really flat surface for the letters to adhere to the fabric. Right, so we're ready to place the letters. So I've decided I'm going to write the name here above, and then I'm going to put the star below. So the first thing I'm going to do is just roughly lay out my word. And now I'm going to shift the letters so that they are placed equally, equidistant, I don't know what the word is. But I'm going to do, so my first and last letters are going to be on the number 14. And I'm going to align them to the bottom of the card. And then try to make the rest equally spaced. You'll find that it's not possible to measure between, because they're all different shapes. So it's just do it by eye and what feels good to you. I'm happy with that. Now I'm going to put the star in the middle below. So I'm going to match that to the center. There we go. And now we are ready to press. So we're ready to press, but before we do, I'm going to lift off the card very gently, and I'm going to see how it looks on the bag. Because now is the time, if you're not happy with it, it's easy to change. Yeah, I think I'm happy. So I'm going to get my iron, and I've got it on a number 2 heat. So at this point, I want to keep the letters really well positioned. So I'm going to place the iron super gently onto the letters. Hold for about 10 seconds. Oops, I must have missed the A. There we go. We are ready to stitch. To mention to you about the letter Q. So if you have a word with the letter Q in it, when you place it onto the card, the best thing to do is to place it just underneath. So you slide the tail under the card, and so the bottom of the, what is the O part of the letter, is on the baseline. So that way it will really align with the rest of your word. So if we had it here, so you can see the top of the letters all match each other with the Q slipping under that baseline. So it was just the letter Q I wanted to show you. So now we're going to stitch the edges of each letter with a very basic Sashiko stitch. And we want to take our embroidery floss from the end with the barcode or the larger label and just pull that tail, ease it out, and we want to take about 40 centimeters, which is roughly 2 pulls and a little bit extra, and then we're going to cut. And now we're going to split the embroidery floss, and so if you look at the end there are 6 strands and we just want 3 of those strands. There are lots of methods for splitting the thread. I'm just going to show you one. So I hold these 2 in my left hand, and then with my right hand, my index finger, I just gently pull through, and I'm pulling with my left hand. And when you see it getting tangled in your right hand, I'll just stop and just straighten the thread, and then gently, gently ease those 2 open again. And again, when I feel, oops, it's getting a bit tangly, I'll straighten that thread and just keep doing this till the 2 are separated. So I've threaded my needle, and then you want one end of the thread to be 1/3 of the length, and then the other thread to be 2/3. So we take the 2/3 length, so place the tail on your index finger, place the needle on top, and you want to pinch the 2 together so they're quite firm. And then you want to take this end and wrap it round 3 times, 1, 2, 3, to make a little spiral. Oops. And then you want to pinch that spiral and gently pull your thread through the spiral. Like so. And as you get to the end, pull, and you've created a little knot. It's a really lovely method. So let's get stitching. So I find the most comfortable way to stitch is to put my hand into the bag and my thumb on top, and then I place the needle into the bag and start stitching around the edge. So I push the needle out really close to the edge of the Liberty fabric, and then I'm going to create a tiny little stitch, which is probably about between 1 to 2 millimeters, and then I'm going to push my needle out again. So again, I'm about 2 millimeters along, and pull the thread out. Now again, we're going to create a tiny stitch. Push the needle out. This is the relaxing bit. Don't worry about them being perfectly distant from each other. If the distance changes, honestly, it really doesn't matter. The Liberty fabric is so floral and busy that you won't even notice. This is about really relaxing. and enjoying the moment. Because stitches are a bit too long or a bit too short, it's really fine. Because the letters are glued on, they're really secure anyway. This is just to ensure that the edges don't come up when you're using the bag or you're washing it. Keeping the thread and the edge of the letter at a right angle is the easiest way to do it. So it doesn't matter how curvy the stitch is, just your stitch needs to be a right angle with the edge. When you get a tangle like that, pull it out again and then pull the thread through. I'm going to show you, the end has got a bit curly there. Sometimes that gets tangled up. So just take your scissors and snip that. My scissors. Here are my scissors. So just snip that end off when it gets curly. Wow, look at that, we're done. So when your stitches meet, so you've done the full edge of the letter, we want to take the needle and push it through to the back. And pull it through. And now I'm going to secure it. So you can secure right back to the start stitch, that way it's going to be really safe. So I will go back to my beginning stitch and I'm going to include that knot there. So I'm just putting my needle through the two. I'm going to wrap round twice and then put my nail on all those little stitches and twists and then pull the needle through gently. And there you have created a knot. Super simple. I'm going to do a second one to be really secure, because especially with bags they get quite rough treatment once you're using them. So you want it to be really secure. Once, twice, and pull through. And there we go. So now I'm going to cut my tails off to about 1 centimetre. Don't cut them too short, because then it could all unravel. There. So you can stitch the whole letter and then do the securing. It's much neater on the back if you secure each row of stitches that you do and then start with a fresh knot. In the centre, my stitches are much further apart. On the outer edge, they were much closer together. So either is absolutely fine, and if you mix them all up, it really doesn't matter. And when I'm really super chilled, so as I'm stitching, I'm becoming more and more relaxed. I think that's why my stitches are further apart. But really, the important thing is that you enjoy the stitching and you feel relaxed. So here we are, we've finished our first letter, we finished the star. Now I'm going to continue finishing off the name. But I really hope you enjoy stitching this and you really relax into it. Have a lovely, lovely time stitching.